Okay, it seems like it's true. Over the past couple of weeks, there has been a lot of news circulating around LeBron, the Lakers, and effectively how the LeBron era out in LA is coming to a conclusion. We talked about this in my last video, I believe, explaining how we got to this path logically. It makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people are upset at the front office out there in LA, but from a strategical standpoint, trying to build forward with Luka Doncic, it just makes a lot of sense for the Lakers and even LeBron to move in the direction in which they have chosen to throughout this offseason so far. But now there's a little bit of news that's a little bit contradictory to what we heard earlier on. So originally the rumors were that LeBron and Lakers, they were so upset at one another that they weren't even talking. There was no discussion about even Jeannie Buss selling a large portion of the Lakers to another owner entity that can fund them a lot of money. They talked it over with Luka, but they didn't talk it over with LeBron. Come to find out, that's not correct. Windhorst and Ramona had to go back in their ESPN article and change that narrative because, boy, that was a nasty one. And the other narrative that seems to also not be true is that there is little to no interest for LeBron, zero interest for LeBron. Now, there is some credibility behind that. However, the idea that no one has not called for LeBron did seem a little sketchy, especially because there is one team, in my opinion, that it makes all the sense in the world that they should call for LeBron immediately and ASAP. And now we have the list of the 4 teams at bare minimum that have called inquiring about LeBron being traded to their team during this offseason. Those 4 teams are the Golden State Warriors, Los Angeles Clippers, Dallas Mavericks, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, in this video, I want to break down the validity behind some of these rumors, especially with those 4 teams, and point you in the direction of the one team that I believe makes the most sense. And give you a little bit of a spoiler, the team is on the list. I do believe there is one of those teams, one of those 4 teams. It makes a lot of sense. But first, let's go ahead and knock out the teams that really don't make any sense. First, the Golden State Warriors. Now, I know for a very long time, there's been several rumors about the idea of LeBron playing alongside Stephen Curry. Then you also have the relationship that Bron has with Draymond Green, big market out there in Golden State. But probably the biggest indication to why the Warriors would be interested in the idea of trading for LeBron, not only because there'd be a massive upgrade for a certain position, but more importantly, the Warriors certainly are desperate enough to try to maximize the next year or two of Curry's career, because beyond that, it's not 100% certain on what exactly is in store for the Warriors. And the attempt to try to maximize Curry's career, we saw last year when they traded Andrew Wiggins to go after Jimmy Butler. And in my opinion, in the long term, that's actually probably going to hurt them more than what people realize, because due to that trade that they made last year with Jimmy Butler, it makes it really difficult to trade for LeBron moving forward. So here are effectively the only 2 routes in which the Warriors can pull off a LeBron trade, both of which I just don't believe is that beneficial for the Lakers. The first path is the most easiest and seamless transaction, trading Jimmy Butler for LeBron James. Both are making about $50+ million. And if you are the Warriors, it makes all the sense in the world to upgrade the co-star that you want to play alongside Stephen Curry with LeBron. And also, just from a story and narrative standpoint, we get to see LeBron, Steph, and Draymond playing alongside one another. So that all makes all the sense in the world for the Warriors, but not for the Lakers. For the Lakers, it literally makes no sense whatsoever. Not only are you seeing a regression in talent, as Jimmy Butler is obviously worse than LeBron, you also have another aging starter you have to deal with, so you're effectively in the same predicament. But third and more importantly, Jimmy Butler signed a contract extension, so you have another year of an aging star, when this entire offseason they've been talking about shedding contracts and going into the upcoming offseasons with as much cap flexibility as possible. Because the Golden State Warriors gave Jimmy Butler a contract extension, it now puts him in a position to where that's off the table if you are the Lakers. And for the ones believing that this can get done because they're going to add in a draft pick or 2, that would almost have to be mandatory. So let's be clear, that's not really an option. That would have to be mandatory. But B, the only way that the Warriors can pair together 2 draft picks is if one of those draft picks is in like the distant future, like 2031, I believe, because they've already traded some of their draft picks and you can't trade both back-to-back picks. So they have to go all the way, I believe, to like 2030 or 2031 to get this deal done. I don't necessarily know if they would feel comfortable with trading draft capital that far in the distance, knowing that in another 5 to 6 years, obviously Curry, LeBron, and Draymond would all be retired. So that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And the second option is for them to do a sign and trade with John Jonathan Kuminga. He is still on the chopping block. It's very awkward. If they were to give Kuminga a new deal, which they're already in talks in doing so, and extend him and then do it in a sign and trade, that would make some sense. On top of that, they would have to move a couple of other pieces as well. Maybe Quentin Post, potentially Brandon Podziemski if they feel desperate enough to pull that off. However, two things. A, again, if you're the Lakers and you want cap flexibility, receiving Jonathan Kuminga of all players on an extended contract doesn't really make any sense. B, even if you're willing to take on that contract, I don't necessarily know if the Lakers or really any team in the NBA believes enough in Jonathan Kuminga to take him on a full max rookie extension, which is the type of money that he would have to start making if you are the Lakers or really anybody who has the ability to match the $50+ million that they're sending out for LeBron. You would have to give Kuminga a either near rookie max extension or a rookie max extension to make the money make sense. And I don't think that anybody in the NBA is committed enough to Jonathan Kuminga for anyone to feel comfortable signing that 4 to 5 year deal. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So that's the reason why the Warriors, in my opinion, are off the table. The other team that also doesn't make any sense are the Los Angeles Clippers. For a second, let's just put aside the obvious, the elephant in the room that these are two teams playing in LA and they've always had a rivalry going after free agents ever since Ballmer's gotten involved back in 2020 and LeBron deciding to choose the Lakers over the Clippers. Let's put the obvious aside to why I just don't think that the Lakers would ever interact with the Clippers in terms of trading LeBron James to their organization. Now, when we look at what's on the table for the Clippers, let's just go ahead and call it out. They're not trading Kawhi. The idea of trading LeBron to the Clippers is so he can play with Kawhi, not exchange him. So they're not going to trade Kawhi. They're also not going to trade Big Zoo, starting center. They've fallen in love with him over the past couple of years now. Boy, we miss you out in Lakerland. Definitely miss you, Big Zoo. You should have been on our roster, but nevertheless. And also, they're not going to trade Harden as well. Not only because LeBron would want to play with another ball handler. He's been saying this for the past 5 to 7 years. But if you're the Lakers, not only is there a redundancy with Luka and James Harden playing style, but once more, aging star, newly acquired contract extension. It makes absolutely no sense. Which then leads us down this very narrow path on what exactly can the Clippers give up to get LeBron. And if we're being honest with ourselves, it's just a bunch of supporting cast members. The first one that would have to be involved in the transaction is newly acquired John Collins, part of the Norman Powell trade. The reason why is because of the amount of money he's getting paid, $26+ million. The only contract on that team that comes anywhere near close enough to the $53 million that LeBron is getting paid to match his contract. So that's the only way in which this can occur. So John Collins would have to be a part of the trade. And then you would have Bogdanović, and then after that, Derrick Jones Jr. The reason why those two players would have to be involved is, again, you're trying to reach this magic number of like $53 million. Everybody else on this team after Big Zoo, from a contract standpoint, Brook Lopez, newly acquired, only making $8 to $9 million. Nick Batum, only making $5 to $6 million. Chris Dunn, $5 million. Kobe Brown, $2 to $3 million. Cam Christie, only $2 million. Like, there's nobody on this team that's making enough money that would even equate to the $50-some million that you would have to match from LeBron. So yeah, those are the three players that would have to be moved. Now, here's a problem with that trade. A, John Collins just got traded to the team, so they would have to wait like 2 or 3 months if you want to get this deal done, so keep that in mind. 2, if you're the Lakers, I just don't know why you would do this. These are talented players. You can fill out your depth chart with NBA quality rotational pieces. However, none of these players are a significant difference maker, and I understand that you're probably not going to receive that for LeBron on an expiring contract at the age of 41 years old. All understandable. However, you can at bare minimum receive a player that would address some of the big holes and deficiencies in the roster. And outside of, I guess, 3-point shooting with Bogdanović and maybe a lob threat at the power forward position with John Collins, none of this really fixes any significant problems that the Lakers have. And quite frankly, you would still need someone who can be a co-star alongside Luka, unless you just believe Austin Reeves is good enough to be that player, which I don't know. So that's the Clippers. Now moving on to the last two teams, and I have to say, both of these teams make some sense. They make a lot of sense. First, you have the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I will be transparent. Yes, there's a bunch of rumors on the timeline claiming that not only is this deal on the table, that allegedly this is going to get done in the next 48 hours. How much I believe this? I'm going to tell you right now, it's close to 0%, but I will say there are rumors circulating right now that apparently someone is out in Vegas in Summer League talking to a couple of agents, and they said it's already done. It's on the table. Next 48 hours, we'll get through. Shams doesn't even know about it, though, so that's the reason why he hasn't broken it. How much you want to trust that is up to you. However, if you are the Mavericks, it does make a lot of sense in the world. This is an organization that famously made a significant change last year, trading Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis and Max Christie because they wanted a more defensive-oriented identity for the franchise. Not only that, they also contend that they're going to put themselves in a position to be a win-now organization as well. And that still also consists of keeping Cooper Flagg, so Noah will not be putting Cooper Flagg in any of these trades because they still want him on a team, which again makes a lot of sense. And so if that is the case, how is it possible for the Dallas Mavericks to pull off this trade if they are intending to keep Cooper Flagg? Well, there are some options out there. Immediately, I would go to PJ Washington, who's looking for an extension, but also just on a very favorable and flexible contract, $14 million expiring. So if you are the Lakers and you still want money coming off of your cap, PJ Washington does provide that in the upcoming year. After that, you would also have to throw Klay Thompson in the conversation as well, not just because of the $16.6 million, but also he became very expendable once they brought in Max Christie last year, and Max showed a lot of promise pretty immediately for this team. So, and then from there, obviously, if you're the Lakers, you want a lob threat big, and if you are the Dallas Mavericks, you have one that you can give away now that you have 80 on your roster. Either Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively are a bit expendable at this point, and so you would probably more than likely ask for Lively and then another flexible contract such as Jaden Hardy, and the reason why you would do that over Daniel Gafford is because they just signed Gafford to a 3-year, $60 million extension. If you're the Lakers, again, you're looking for financial flexibility moving forward to maximize what you can. A lot of the value that you see from Gafford, you can get with Lively while still being on his rookie deal. So that would just make all the sense in the world. However, if you're the Lakers, I still don't know why you would do this. If you are the Lakers or really anybody in the NBA, going out of your way to make the Mavericks better is very, very silly. You don't want to arm them with all the tools that are necessary for them to improve the roster to the point in which Nico Harrison might have actually been right for them to be able to pull the trigger on Luka, because effectively you would be trading LeBron and AD and Max Christie to the Lakers for Luka Doncic, Klay Thompson, Derek Lively, Jaden Hardy, and a bunch of other basic role players. Like that's just not enough. That does not make any sense if you're the Lakers. You're seeing a significant backdrop in talent, and on top of that, you are receiving a lot of financial flexibility and wiggle room, but that doesn't really address a lot of other things as well. I would certainly demand the draft pick back if the Lakers go in this direction, but even though, yes, a lot of holes are being filled, it's just not enough to justify trading LeBron to a team that immediately makes them a contender while making your team worse and not arming you with really much of anything beyond Derek Lively for the foreseeable future to pair next to Luka Doncic. To me, that doesn't make any sense. Which then leads us to our final team being the Cleveland Cavaliers, and in my opinion, the Cavs make the most sense out of any team in the NBA. Let's put aside all of the fairy tale ending, the storylines and narratives, despite the fact that it's very juicy and very compelling as well. LeBron being able to go back to Cleveland, finishing off his career not only with the team that he started off his career with, but also his hometown team, as we all know, and also playing for a team that will be very competitive as well. I think that would be a really great conclusion to his career. If we just talk about where the Cavs are right now, what they have to offer to the Lakers, and how things can really map out for both teams post this trade, I don't know why there's not more noise around the idea of Cleveland trading for LeBron. I would go as far as to say the fact that there isn't more noise leads me to believe that there's a lot of malpractice going on out there in Cleveland, especially for an organization that has a lot of pressure on their back to go out there and piece together a championship contending roster in the next year or two. This is an organization that is this close, in all honesty, from winning another championship. Last year, historically great season when it comes to plus minus, 64 wins, a juggernaut in the Eastern Conference, but unfortunately failed because they were knocked out in the second round. And there are a lot of clear indications on what exactly is wrong with this team from a roster construction standpoint, despite the fact that they did win 64 games. A team that is well constructed, but clearly can get better. And the two pieces that immediately jump off the page, obviously, would have to be Jared Allen and then Darius Garland. Two players that's making a lot of money, but just don't fit the best with what this roster is trying to do moving forward, especially in terms of the growth and development of Evan Mobley. And so if you have expendable pieces like that, that's making next year $39 million with Darius Garland and $20 million with Jared Allen, and then you even have someone like DeAndre Hunter who is making $23 million as well, you have the contracts to move off of those players to get someone like a LeBron. Second reason why I say this is potential malpractice is because of the Donovan Mitchell angle. D. Mitch, for those who don't know, last year signed a contract extension, but instead of signing a full 4-year extension, he only signed a 3-year extension, with 2 of those years only being guaranteed, his third year being a player option, which means that technically speaking, Donovan Mitchell, if he feels as if like this roster, this organization is not building in the proper direction to contend at the highest level, he could leave after 2 years. Matter of fact, next year could be his last year because the following year after that could be an expiring contract season and he can leverage himself to be traded somewhere else. But third and more importantly, if you are the Cleveland Cavaliers, you're in a very unique situation to where you have, again, movable pieces that make a lot of money without disrupting a core identity of what your team provides on both sides of the floor. Theoretically speaking, bro, the Cavaliers can move off of Darius Garland, DeAndre Hunter, and Jared Allen to fill out the rest of their roster to bring in then LeBron and have a big three of Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and LeBron James. Not only does that address the immediate, what this team needs to look like immediately, but it also gives you all the flexibility in the world for what you look like in the future as well, because you still retain Evan Mobley, the 24-year-old stud that you're more than likely going to try to build towards moving forward and for the next like 5 to 6 years. So you keep Mobley, you keep Donovan Mitchell, you get a significant upgrade from DeAndre Hunter to LeBron. You provide D. Mitch with a true ball handler, passer, and playmaker to maximize his skill set, because I do believe that's what D. Mitch needs. And you also put a player in the front court alongside Evan Mobley that can maximize who he is instead of having Jared Allen next to him as well. All of this makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, actually, if you really stop and think about it. And then if you're the Lakers, if you are a team that needs a lob threat big in Jared Allen, you would get him at a pretty easy price point as well, only making $20 million this upcoming season. The year after that, only making $28 million. So even though, yes, you lose a lot of flexibility because Jared Allen did just sign an extension, you still get a player that you would still need on a roster next to Luka anyway. So you would get that. And then you would get a 27-year-old DeAndre Hunter that can provide a lot of that 3-and-D action that you're looking for at the wing position, and you would get that also at a very reasonable price point as well, $23 million to $24 million. Very reasonable. So both teams actually have concerns that can be addressed by trading with one another. So in my opinion, this makes all the sense in the world, and I think it should be done pretty soon. I would hope if that's a team that trades for LeBron, it is the Cavaliers, because it just makes a lot of sense for everyone. But hey, those are my thoughts. Please let me know yours in the comment section below. And if you can, hit the subscribe button, notification bell to be updated when I upload on this channel. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.